Hey, it's Mark here, and welcome to the next edition of the Employee Survival Guide, where I tell you, as always, what your employer does definitely not want you to know about, and a lot more. Welcome back to the Employee Survival Guide podcast, where we navigate the corporate jungle so you don't have to just survive, you can thrive. I'm Mark Carey. Today we're tackling the heavy stuff, question that keeps you up at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. Is my boss actually toxic, or are they just difficult? And more importantly, if the ship is sinking, how do you prove it wasn't your fault? We are talking about documenting a hostile work environment, a very popular phrase that we see a lot of activity on in terms of people interacting with our content. Now, before we dive in, a quick disclaimer. I'm an attorney. I'm actually an employment attorney. So this is educational course, but here, let's go. First, let's make a distinction. A tough boss might have high standards, send curt emails, or be generally annoying. That's unpleasant, but it's usually legal, and people don't really understand that. A toxic boss, and specifically a hostile work environment toxic boss, in the legal sense is very, very different. And legally, a hostile work environment usually requires the behavior to be discriminatory based on things like race, gender, age, or religion. And it must be pervasive enough to interfere with your ability to do your job. But even if it doesn't meet that strict legal definition, toxicity can ruin your career. Here are 3 red flags that signal you need to start documenting immediately. And why do you document? Because you have to bring that case to me so I can review it to tell you whether you have a case or not. That's why you have to document, among other things. First, the goalpost shifter. You hit a target and they say, I never asked for that. Or they change the requirements retroactively to make you fail. We see that a lot, and we bring that out in client affidavits. Chronologically speaking, it makes the boss look like an idiot because usually they are, and they don't think that the employee client of ours is smart enough to document things, but they do. Number 2, the gaslighter. They deny conversations happened or blame you for their lack of communication. You start questioning your own memory. Don't do that. Usually you know that what you did and you document things because you were there. You took a journal entry in your own about what had happened. Number 3, the isolator. It's probably by far the most common fact situation we see. The boss, the toxic boss, excludes you from critical meetings, ignores your emails, or badmouths you to peers to cut off your support system. I can go on and on about this in terms of this isolation syndrome type of tactic, but it happens all the time. Probably I would say about 75% of the cases we deal with the hostile work environment toxicity issue. If you're nodding your head right now, you need to start building your paper trail. So what is the art of documentation? How do you document? You just can't walk into the HR and say, my boss is mean. You need evidence. You need a contemporaneous record, generally emails, your journal entry, and a sworn affidavit if you need to, if you're going to try to support a case of legal claims. But here's a 3-step protocol to follow. The golden rule of storage. Never, and I mean never, keep your documentation solely on a company property. In fact, I would keep it on a private laptop at home so the company can't access it through a VPN. If you are fired tomorrow, you lose access to your work laptop and email immediately. So keep a physical journal at home or use a personal cloud document like a Google Docs on your personal phone, but be careful forwarding company emails to your personal account as they can violate non-disclosure agreements. Instead, transcribe the notes manually. We did a whole podcast on this as well. Step 2, the who, what, where, and when format. When you write an entry, be a reporter, not a diary writer. Remove the emotion. Don't be a victim. Here's a bad example. My boss was a total jerk today and yelled at me for no reason. It was so unfair. The good example is February 17th, 10 a.m., location, conference room B, boss, John Smith, witness, Jane Doe. John raised his voice, slammed his hand on the table, touched me physically, sexually, and stated, "You are incompetent." He claimed I missed a deadline despite my email from February 15th proving submission. I ad-libbed that one a little bit for you just to give you emphasis. Step 3, confirm it in writing, the CYA email. If you have a verbal altercation with your toxic boss, summarize it in email immediately. This is a lawyer's trick. And you send it to the boss, and you send it to the boss's boss, and then send it to the HR where you're documenting things. Here's an example. You say, just want to clarify a conversation from this morning. You stated that the project requirements have changed to X and the previous work on Y will not be used. Please let me know if I misunderstood you. If they don't reply to you, your email stands as the record of what you understood. These emails are critical for you creating a narrative for your case and using emails to timestamp things and to create a chronological order of events is how clients of ours, proved cases, to basically get large severance packages worth a lot of money. Okay, so you have a week's worth of notes. Now what? Don't run to the HR the moment you have one bad altercation interaction with your boss. HR's primary job, you should know this by now, is to protect the company, not you at all. A lot of people have misunderstanding about that issue, but they're not there to help you. You work in a private government, and the HR department's like the Secret Service or the FBI. They don't give a shit about you. All you have is outside folks like myself and employment lawyers to interact with to help you. And this podcast. You generally want to go to HR when you have a pattern of evidence, but that shows the boss is a liability to the company. But you're only going to do that when you have your detailed affidavit. You've got it notarized. You've probably worked in my office with our attorneys, and we have built the case for you, where it demonstrates that, it's beyond toxicity. It's a boss who's discriminating against you based upon some type of legal basis, such as age, sex, gender, whatever, pregnancy. We've seen it all. Having this documentation gives you two superpowers. The first one is a negotiation leverage. If you are managed out or laid off, having a record of mistreatment can sometimes help you negotiate a better severance package. I will guarantee you that it will have a positive effect if your affidavit asserts factual basis for discrimination, whistleblowing, retaliation, you name it, that's illegal. It's going to bolster your ability to get more pay out of your in your severance negotiation. Number two, and less important, but important, is unemployment insurance. If you are forced to quit, constructive discharge, you don't get unemployment. But if you have proof of the mistreatment in discriminatory, hostile environment, you have a better chance of winning your claim. So nobody wants to spend their workday acting like a private investigator, but in a toxic environment, your memory is your enemy, and documentation is your best friend. So protect your peace of mind, but protect your paycheck as well, which is really what we're all always doing here. It's all about the money, your paycheck, but ensuring that you have money coming in. Either you're on your way out of this job, or you got to basically have a job search, and then when you land somewhere else, you got to build security to have income via have your employer pay you to the end of employment, and then segue into a severance situation where you have severance pay coming in. So that's the idea of documentation. It's very important. Most people don't understand why they do it. Now you know. So with that said, have a great week, and thank you for letting me be of service again. Hey, it's Mark, and thank you for listening to this episode of the Employee Survival Guide. If you'd like to be interviewed for our podcast and share your story about what you're going through at work, and do so anonymously, please send me an email at mcarey@capclaw.com. And also, if you like this podcast episode and others like it, please leave us a review. It really does help others find this podcast. So leave a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to this podcast. Thank you very much, and glad to be of service to you.